Greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live and listening in the replay. We always want to start out in thanks with our listeners that listen domestically in the States and that listen abroad and foreign places. So we always appreciate all the live listeners, all the listeners that listen in the replay. Always appreciate you. So today's episode on the vault, Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything, episode 148. It's not my, your, or your trust fund. And so, just a great way to not just talk about trust, but talk about the fund, to talk about the mindset towards the position that you're in as a trustee. And so, just really excited to talk about that position. Today's Tuesday, so we traditionally every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesdays, we actually go over news, and we definitely want to talk about just some stories that we came by that VCs are investing in less than 1 cent cryptos, but are going to be making millions in the future. You see a lot of ICOs that are still looking to go and be launched right now in the crypto space. So you all can still see that, and you just get to continue to see that in a different industry. So be on the lookout for that. Uh, Interesting. We've been talking about this for a while with the vault, and so we're back at it again, which is talking about Aretha Franklin's estate, and really just sharing the idea that right now in the Oakland County Probate Court, you all can examine the wills, or right now they have a judge examining the handwritten will, and so there's a will in place, and so once you see the will in place, you see the probate come, and then at the same time, there are many tax liabilities and infringements that are going to be coming upon the estate at this point because of the position that it's in. So just it was an interesting conversation to be had. It was an interesting, article, once again, because of the estate in the position that it's in. It's still interesting to see where the estate is at. Very, very important. Uh, you all can look into how a gentleman built a $2.5 billion business by using a 7,000-year-old industry. So traditionally, you'll hear these type of industries, and most people would know that it would sound like it's what? Insurance. You all can do your research. He's in carbon materials, Silicon Valley, but once again, very heavily invested in what people would consider insurance at this point. If he's in an industry, that is dealing with, he actually says it here, IP, patent protection, assembling a world-class team of people. Interesting. So you all feel free to search that this week as well. Financial advisors. This was an interesting article. You all can look up that a financial advisor admits his role in a $12 million trust fund scam. Great, interesting article. You literally can Google that and you'll see the actual article come up, which is financial advisor admits role in the $12 million trust fund scam. You all can look at an interesting public display of doing something wrong in trust, things of that nature. So definitely excited to share that with you all. That was a good article. If you all know who Robert Smith is, Robert Smith is a investor. He's not true Silicon Valley, but he is Silicon Valley in the respect that he invests in $2 billion, plus equity holding, and his company is investing once again $500 million recently into a company called Alta Return, ALTA return. You all can Google the company, see what he's investing in. You all can see the style of companies that are being invested in from big tech. Literally, they just got $500 million from literally Vista Equity, so it shows you some value in equity from that position. You all can see the type of company that people are purchasing, particularly with billions of dollars. So interesting to say there. Alrighty, I think that's where we're good for this week on the news, and so we're just gonna go ahead into our episode. Once again, we always thank you for listening live or tuning in through the replay. Definitely gonna focus on today's episode, which is it's not my slash your trust fund, and this is just an interesting topic that we get coming across our platform, which is particularly dealing with people that are not in trust. They don't come from a trust background, a trust fund trustee background. A lot of people, when they think that they even get into trust, they end up looking to be a beneficiary. So even as a beneficiary, it's not your trust fund. You're just a beneficiary of it, or there is a beneficiary of the fund, and there's beneficiaries. There could be multiple beneficiaries of the fund. So when we talk about trust fund and the position that you're in, my or your traditionally incurs liability. So we can establish that early. But outside of establishing that it incurs liability, let's just say that we take that liability way through my and your, and now it's the trust fund. And so by it being in a position of the trust fund, then now we know what position we're in. We're the trustee. Or if some people are in a position of trust, they're in a position of beneficiary, or you're in a position of grantor as far as the creation of it. But even in a position where they have multiple positions, such as irrevocable, you all see that position. So everyone knows that there's multiple positions to be had. But if a my or a your comes out your mouth, that already shows who's responsible, who's liable, who owns it. If it's the entity by itself, then you work for it, or you're a beneficiary. And so when we get people that they state the possessive language of my and your, what it does is it puts you in a position of liability. So it's very imperative to not use this language, but this language has been ingrained in people's thought process. There is a possessive language that goes, and so what do they say? Possession is 9/10 of the law. There's a saying that goes like that. And in turn, if you're owning something, you're in possession of it, then you obviously have to abide by the law. The law of property rights, the law of intellectual property rights, the law of copyright infringement. So, is it yours, or is it the trust fund's? Does the trust fund own the property? Does it own the funds that everyone is operating out of as a fund? We sat in front of someone today and we talked about how trust funds are considered a form of crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing, because they have the crowdfunding. They call it crowdfunding. Well, crowdfunding is a contract, the same thing as trust. The trust is a contract. It's crowdfunding. But people aren't going into crowdfunding in micro levels. There's bigger people that put together the contract that says, hey, we're gonna go out and launch this on a crowdfunding platform, and they launch their program on a crowdfunding platform. But trust fund, that's the same exact thing. It's a platform, an opportunity for people to crowdsource. There's beneficiaries, many distributions. A pension fund. What is a pension fund inside of? It's inside of a trust fund. But the guys that work for the banks that you all bank with, they sat in front of Congress recently, and Congress said, do you guys feel bad that you made $240 million in a bonus when the market was in a downturn in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2012, 2013? Should you have made $100 million each year back to back? So as they go down the line, and they turn on their mic, say, that wasn't my decision, that was the board's decision. I'm not in control of that. Well, do you think it was wrong? It's not my decision once again, it's the board's decision. I don't have an opinion on that. You don't have an opinion because it's not his fund. He's not in control of the money. He's doing his job. He's the CEO of the bank that people defaulted, that people made ill-advised moves with. You think you should have gave back the $80 million bonus? That's not my decision. That's the board's decision. So, as you all can see, these people are in a position of own nothing, control everything. That's institutional. That's institutional right there. That's banking. You can look into banking and see the different aspects of it. But their funds, most things are funds. When we even talk about the crowdfunding, trust funds are right there with crowdfunding. People are able to raise funds very quickly and funds. We were talking to someone today, once again, that even knows a gentleman that has put together a $500 million fund, or focused on growing into a $500 million fund. And that's not huge in the private equity space. $500 million fund is not super huge. It's a moderate one when you're dealing with individuals that have billions of dollars. So, the $500 million fund is a great fund to get off the ground and really have substantial equity inside of a market. And at the end of the day, you know that if you're the trustee of the entity, and moving in that fashion, and that's what they are. They're trustees. They know, okay, there's going to be some write-offs, there's going to be some losses, and that's when you guys in the public get to traditionally see job layoffs or cutting back. Whether that's a bank actually cutting back on locations, or you see them just doing different things to cut back, and they're utilizing more technology. This is a simple lesson that we educate our trustees when we go through trustee training, and the Vault trustee training is that the ATM is an automatic teller machine, which is an electronic device to replace tellers. So essentially, they replace tellers at banks. It's a disruptive technology. People got fired. A lot of people that listen to the podcast use ATMs. They use these machines that you literally can do transactions on. Now you don't have to go to the bank. You don't have to talk to someone. You can pull out capital from companies or whatever you're dealing with, and actually take out capital and pay for it in cash. Well, okay. At the end of the day, we don't espouse for those type of things to be done at the vault. But when you're taking those funds and you're doing business, what are you paying for? It's very imperative to know what the funds for the company are supposed to be doing. A lot of people get caught up on not knowing the difference between company funds and personal funds. We get a lot of trustees or people that come through the vault. They ask questions and they don't know how to basically separate the business from the personal. That's one of the biggest issues. You got to separate the business from the personal. So, we wanted to do this episode because there's so many people that come with they don't let go of the I mentality. And even in trust, we talk about the teamwork mentality, but a lot of people, don't have a big business mindset. And so this podcast is aimed to talk to people about that when it comes to trust fund, when it comes to it being in the perspective of you being a trustee. If you are a trustee, we talk to the trustees in training, and we definitely say, hey, look at it from this perspective. Own nothing, control everything, occurs no liability. So there's an advantage for being in positions, and we definitely are excited about the trustees that we're working with now. We have a full class of trustees Really excited about working with them. This has been a good group. But we're just gonna go ahead and make that announcement. The vault's been around for probably about 3 years, at least on YouTube. Previous to that, the vault was on Blog Talk Radio for about 2.5 years, and the vault has done its job as far as making sure people understand the difference between trust and trust fund, and it's just really even just going into the different aspects of privacy. And so, the vault has made it a point to, put the collection out there, and it's time to just go ahead and make the transition. There's been some things that have advanced, and we just want to say, hey, this is the final trustee training that we're going to conduct. A lot of people for a long time, they really say, hey, they're going to come back, and we appreciate all of those people. But at the end of the day, the vault was here to advance, work with people that wanted to invest now, because the only data and minute that we have is right now. And we've always understood that, even when we, dealt with the mentors or anyone, it was always a right now moment. It's one of those moments for sure, right now. And so, the trustee training window, will allow 1 week, and then we're going to close it for trustees to enroll in the last minute trustee training for this year, for 2019. Uh, a lot of people have inquired over the years. They said they wanted to, even go through them. But at the end of the day, the training program is a continuing education program, and continuing education program for trustees is for people that want to continue to advance and understand that there's own nothing, control nothing mentality. That there's a certain environment that you do things in a certain manner, and we're excited about working with those people. There's so many people that have invested over the years with even the trading, bringing that individual to our platform. People inquired about the insurance. See, the thing about it, ladies and gentlemen, is when you continuously grow, it becomes more and more of a lifestyle, whether it's the private capacity or not. We hear so many people that listen to the vault and they say, oh, somebody from the UCC, they were trying to collect this money. Yeah, they were trying to collect the money, but then what happened? You all know what hush money is, ladies and gentlemen. Hush money is where they pay you to settle. They settle you out. It's a settlement. Hush money is considered to be a settlement. They tell you to stop talking about it. So a lot of times, you see those moments in history, and it's safe to say, and we're excited that that didn't happen here. But at the end of the day, it's definitely a growth and an investment, and so assets under management demand attention, and it's exciting to be in a position of growing with assets under management, across the board, ladies and gentlemen. And so we're just really excited about that. Uh, it's a pure investment in you and your family's investment future. We've seen so many people come. We haven't seen them go, but we've seen them come, and we're just excited about the ones that have taken those leaps of quote unquote faith, and made it a point to say, hey, look, I've never heard a bad experience, so I'm going to experience the good too. And that's what we thought of the entire time. Everyone that has been partnered with the vault, Trust Christian, Own Not to Control Everything, it's been a blessing. And at the end of the day, it's about growing assets under management, ladies and gentlemen. Assets under management are a part of your family, your private family office, or whatever situation you're looking to move in. And so we talk to a specific style of individual through the vault. We definitely want to do more interviews, and so that's something that on the travels, it's easier to just interview another investor, another entrepreneur, and just create dynamic content than talk about something that really, at this point, you kind of have to have the capital to be able to invest in your family's future. And we're always big on people investing in their family's future. So, a lot of people may look at it as, oh, it's my trust or it's your trust fund, but at the end of the day, it's really the family's trust fund. And you start seeing that mindset grow faster when the families feel that they have a vested interest in what it is right now, and not waiting to do they're actually just going to learn and do at the same time, and learning comes through doing, and really taking a mentorship more seriously, just because there are the strong muscles out there that are going to go out there and they're going to go to the law library, they're going to learn the language, and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, for the ones that are not going to do it, and it's crazy how many people listening to the vault, you know who you are. You're not gonna hear it out. So it's just interesting, ladies and gentlemen, to say the least. And we appreciate you all for the time in, for listening, and just want to continue to do what the trust fund is all about, which is providing resource, having dynamic conversation about business and things of that nature, uh, related to the subject matter. A lot of the content has been put out already about it, the entities that a lot of the different and elite trustees are using. We even went through a list of trustees with the banks that literally are their trustees, and you see the position they're in, and they're collecting big checks. And we want to talk to more of those investors, those level of entrepreneurs, um, because that's the level that, ladies and gentlemen, you all, whether you know it or not, can be playing at, and that's just an investment in your private education, across the board. Whether it was with the vault or any other private institution, you're going to be able to see the results of understanding of investing in quote unquote yourself, in many different avenues, and it could be something completely new, something you've never learned before. It could be a new skill, it could be a new trait that you want to take on about yourself, something that makes you more outgoing, something that makes you more dynamic, something that makes you more disciplined. Whatever the new skill, the new it could be. Some people take up martial arts, some people take up yoga, some people take up different things to make them more disciplined, or more skilled in some of the skills that they already have. And that's what the vault is all about. It's about helping people know that, hey, you got to invest in your private education, and that's a right now project, because you just never know when the private is going to disappear, and you're not going to have access to it. It's an elite environment. When you come in contact with the private, it's almost like the universe is asking you, do you want the dreams and goals to come true in a capacity where you're going to have to play whether you get there now or later. And the mindset is either now or later. And there's no later game at the vault. I never played the later game, and it's just time to do what it needs to be done, and just help people really have that perspective, or work with people that have the perspective of it's not theirs. you know it might be a social conditioning. Some people say, oh, they don't know. Everyone says you don't know what you don't know. Okay, well, let's get busy knowing what we don't know, and that comes through study. And if the trust fund that the family has is paying for the children's education, go find out if that's a tax write-off per your tax attorney. Go ask that. Hey, can this education be a form of a deduction or something of that nature? You guys can ask those questions. So, just definitely excited about these type of topics. It's not your trust fund. It's not my trust fund. A lot of people say, oh, why not talk about it? Why not talk about it? Why? Because are you hiding something? Well, how can you be hiding anything if it's not yours? You see people come under scrutiny all the time. How much are you making with the company? And you see a lot of the large guys say, hey, I'm not making anything. What do you mean you're not making anything, Zuckerberg? What do you mean you're not making anything, Bill Gates? What do you hold on. What do you mean you're not making anything, Warren Buffett? What do you mean, Warren Buffett? You're not making any money. Well, I just really love what I do. Yeah, it's going directly to his charity that he's still in control of as a trustee over the private family foundation. It's not his fund though, right? It's the charity. Charity's protected by the Attorney General. The assets that Harvard's holding, They're protected by an attorney general. Funds are protected by people of the state. They have diversified portfolios in these funds. Not all of them are in real estate. Not all of them are in certain type of industries. And these funds are protected. Charitable funds are protected. But it's not your fund. It's the public's fund, right? Right, but you're managing it. So you think that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation doesn't have a private jet? You think the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation doesn't have company vehicles? You think the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation doesn't have company cell phones? They don't have property that they house them when they're traveling abroad or wherever? Sounds like the fund for the company is paying for it because it kind of sounds like it's company expenses. And recently, was there a distribution from Amazon? I think there was a distribution. Y'all can Google that. That there possibly was a distribution from Amazon to some investors. So y'all can look into that. That there was a distribution. But key terms, distributions. You know, we encourage a lot of the entrepreneurs to really be into the entrepreneur space, but we understand that there's a lot of distractions on the internet. With just scrolling about non-entrepreneur type conversation. An entrepreneur conversation is definitely needed when you're an entrepreneur. Being engrossed in entrepreneurship makes you focus on no safety net mentality. It makes you focus on I'm going to eat, sleep, and breathe my business mentality. People say, "Oh, well, you're going to eat, sleep, and breathe one business." What about the ones of us that eat, sleep, and breathe multiple businesses? What about those? Are those insane? What about the ones that only do one? So it's about what you want, ladies and gentlemen. But then is it really about you or my? It's about what the fun ones. And that's where we, as true trustees, live by the code. The code is the contract. The contract makes the law. We live by the law. It's the contract. It's the word that's written on the paper. It's that simple. That's why it's easy for us trustees to move through life, ladies and gentlemen. You say, yo, private trusteeship, is it hard when I go? Is it going to be hard? Guess what? It's called, TTEE, trustee, trusteeship. That's what it's called for the rest of your life. There's no beneficiaries. That's W-2 position. That's Social Security position. You all know that. Trust fund babies, such as the President of the United States. He's a trust fund baby. When you trust fund baby, we can traditionally say that these people are out of contact with the common man's plight in life, which is called working from the 0 to a million, and a million to 10 million, and 50 million, and 100 million. Some people that are born into having large lump sums of capital, so they have a lot more cushion to fail and a lot more opportunity to put more up to risk to actually lose. And some people have a higher risk tolerance because they've been taught risk management by going to risk management schools such as Wharton Business School, which is one of the top schools in the country for business and risk management, risk tolerance type teaching. Business has, you know, evolved into what it's always been, ladies and gentlemen. Private wealth forums, private wealth environments are alive and well. We sat with an investor earlier today, let them know that private equity has so much capital sitting on the sideline right now. It's not even funny. They have $1 trillion sitting on the sideline minimum, and there are billionaire families that are sitting on the sideline with tons of capital for investment right now in small micro markets, different micro markets, different micro business ventures, different micro funds that if you start the fund, that now you have the opportunity to be funded. You have to start the fund in order to be funded. Most people don't know how to start the fund. Well, okay, it's based off of a contract. So once you know that it's based off a contract, you need to get a consultation with the vault, or you can go talk to an attorney about creating what's considered to be a crowdfunding contract. What they call them, Funds of a fund contract. Funds of a fund. Do you hear that? There's funds that are going to be in funds. Contracts. So it's not your fund. You're working for the fund. When people work for charities, they work for funds. You're working for something that's not your own when you work for a charity. So that's why charity is traditionally easy for most trustees, but traditionally even you know trusts are fine, but the charity is always easier because trustees know the position of, hey, this isn't mine. I'm in a tax exempt position because I don't own this. That's true. Own nothing, control everything. Charity. How long is charity going to be around forever? What is charity? An investment. What's the endowments that are protected by the state? Charities. It's a cyclical circle of success. It's not my or your trust fund. The fund is the fund. You are the fund manager if you're the fund manager, or then we obviously look at the beneficiaries of the fund and things of that nature. You all can look into that. Great recommendation how funds can be done. But when you all are looking for the content of uh, the trust fund, you know from a perspective of it's not yours, then obviously that depends on what position you're in as far as a steward. Steward, just being a steward over the assets, asset manager over the assets. Are you an asset manager? Now you became a portfolio manager, and portfolio managers are under fiduciary duties. They have duties inside of the entity because they're the ones that's managing the assets. The assets have number values associated with them, so it's fiduciary duties. They have number duties. They have duties to manage the assets, either grow them or help them maintain, depending on whatever position they're in. A lot of times we don't even get a chance to share how real estate is a depreciating asset. So a lot of times, sometimes you see trustees that are in real estate, they're writing off and depreciating the assets or writing off depreciation of the assets in the real estate environment. So when people even talk about profit, we're very familiar with the negative balances that people can hold as well from a depreciation perspective, not just from a perspective of just growing a company and going into profits, but we don't want people to just talk about not making money. Oh, we just want to use depreciation. What about actually gaining capital and growing capital from a trust fund perspective? Real estate investment trust funds are something that are popping up, and people really know about a real estate investment trust fund, and they want to be in it and they want to grow it. And a real estate investment trust fund is critical nowadays to the growth and development of a community. These are where entities are giving out shares. When you look at major real estate investment trusts, definitely I think Blackstone is one of them. Blackstone Blackstone is a real estate investment trust. Really, yeah, actually it is. It really is. Uh, Blackstone Real Estate. Real estate, yes. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys don't know who Blackstone is, they're very prominent. 140 billion assets under management in North America, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. And you all can look up Blackstone. They're a real estate investment trust, and they actually have real estate. They're actually consider themselves a mortgage trust, and they are in the New York Stock Exchange. And so they have a public side. They have a public side, and they have a private side. And you all can see that they have a company. You all can see how many offices they have in the world. This is something that you can mimic. Go out and raise these type of capitals, to raise these type of funds for your communities. These are people that have just acquired funds from many different places. So, so, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. If you all have any questions, feel free to type into the chat. Uh, it's not about it's not my or your trust fund. This episode was really catered towards trustees once again, just really knowing that the possessive mindset is really going to put you in a situation where you could do the two things that you don't want to do in trust, which are commingle and fraudulent transfers. So, we just definitely, we talk about those subject matters. Those are subject matters that everyone knows in the public, particularly in public trusteeship, and so it's just very imperative that, the platforms continue to talk about that, because when we even announced that episode, that piece of news article that you can read about the trustee taking $12 million and scam, you all can Google that, and you all will see that that is something that's a priority. When people are saying, hey, even if I had a trust fund set up for my family and I'm not there managing it, what happens to me? How does the fund get administered for the family? These are conversations that can be had, and that's why you don't see yourself going to have to be in a compromising position at that point. So appreciate you all for tuning in live or listening to replay. I don't see any questions going into the chat. So peace and blessings. I'm gonna do some more episodes this week with the vault, and we're definitely gonna continuously, do what we do as far as the content. Got some great episodes we want to bring to you. So peace and